10th anniversary. For Whiplash, we have the director, Damien Chazelle, stars Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons here. Let's give them a big round of applause. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming together again. How's it feeling so far?
Well, it rarely happens.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because even during, I remember, being at Sundance together, and then the film, there's all these festivals and kind of presentations afterwards. But it feels like the last time we were together, honestly, was the Oscars. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the last time we were all three together.
That is pretty...
I remember Sundance was just me and Miles, and Cannes was just me and JK. And so, yeah, it's somehow... You must really not like each other.
Yeah, we don't really care for each other that much.
Always paired off.
I mean, I'm speaking for myself.
I'm Miles, by the way.
How you doing?
What's it?
Yeah,
JK?
yeah. JK.
Big fan.
Yeah, thank you.
Big fan.
Keep watching.
You got her. You must remember that face, Miles. You must.
I know every line, crevice in JK's face. He's got a he's got a good mug on him, and he was just in my face for... Well, it wasn't even that long. We shot the movie in 19 days, but it was just, he was always right there. Why are you so mad?
There's
that
the buzz.
whole movie.
There's that 19-day buzz.
Oh, yeah, 19.
You gotta allow for that. Yeah.
19 days, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's 20 days, but that's...
Well, plus the Gorilla Day in New York, but that that doesn't count.
Yeah.
No permits. Yeah. Thank you.
Damien, let's start at the beginning for you, but I wonder if you could maybe start by giving us a little bit of context in terms of how you felt as a filmmaker 10 years ago when you started working on this project, and how you reflect on it now, especially now that you're getting this very deserved, but pretty exciting re-release as well.
It's funny because we've joked about this. It doesn't feel like 10 years, or if it is 10 years, it feels like it was. It feels much shorter than that. It feels like a very recent memory. I remember, the writing of this script was I was, like a lot of people, I'd sort of moved out to LA wanting to make movies, and then just sort of found, those sort of dreams on hold, and was doing a lot of, I wound up kind of making my way through, at that point, a lot of sort of writing, writer for hire jobs, rewrites, stuff like that. That was, great for a while, but at a certain point, I really wanted to be making my own stuff. So I'd kind of write stuff for myself to kind of one day, hopefully, hopefully make. And I'd written a bunch of those kind of, the sort of dream project things, or the things I want. I'd written the sort of a version of La La Land, I remember, and I'd written some other stuff that was not good and just kind of, will never see the light of day. And I just remember it was like after a lot of kind of just stabs at that kind of writing, in a sort of place of just frustration at my output, frustration at just not being able to get anything made, frustration at the work I was doing, that I wrote Whiplash. So I don't know, I kind of think back and I think of it as something that someone writes in a state of frustration and thwarted ambition, and
it's in the product.
It feels like so that's what I remember that, but then I remember everything that followed it being almost this kind of very pleasant surprise, because when I finished writing it, I would not have said that this was the one that would actually, of the things I was trying to write, that would actually get made or break through in any way. In fact, I think I was even embarrassed at first to show it to anyone, because it felt, I look back now, I realize it's because it felt more personal than other stuff I'd written. It felt a little more raw and almost kind of embarrassing in that sense, the way, you sort of, like airing skeletons in your closet. It felt too close to home. And so I remember sitting on it for a little bit, and then kind of started, finally got up the courage to start sending it out. And but yeah, then it felt like actually relatively quickly that I was actually lucky enough to be with these two gentlemen and actually making it. But all of that felt, again, like a kind of wild surprise given where I was at when I wrote it.
So JK, hearing that, how do you remember kind of coming into Damians World? You started in the short that preceded this film, so you were in that part for quite some time. Yeah,
well, in it for, was it 2 days or 3 days on the short film?
3.
Yeah. And then, 16 months later or whatever it was, in it again with Miles for 19 days, not 20, because we didn't have permits for the 20th day. It was. We both said this. It was one of those things that just jumped off the page, into me, and it was exactly what actors are hoping to find when they get a script. It's like you can absolutely see yourself playing this character. The dialogue, the story, everything is just brilliant, and you hope that this young filmmaker can make a film, because you find a lot of great writing, and it doesn't always mean you're going to make a great movie. And I think we did.
When the project first came your way, Miles, I'm curious what scared you about it the most.
Well, I do have like a pretty strong musical background in that my sisters and we started playing instruments at a young age. So the fact that I was getting, the opportunity to play a drummer was really exciting to me. I had drummed in some very shitty rock bands in Florida, and so I knew my way around the kit a little bit. No, but honestly, it was, when I was reading the script, there's just so much. I was like exhausted. I was exhausted for Andrew. It was such like an unrelenting process of just reading it and visualizing it. And I was coming off a project, and I knew that I would have to jump right into it. But yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate to get handed this script. It's 10 years later, and it's the best script that I've ever written. You saw the movie on the page, but with Damien, what it felt like for me was shooting, because I was not that far removed from like doing student films in college. So I just felt like I was kind of making a student film with my buddy, and a couple more people around, and
somebody on the faculty playing the old guy.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's pretty good. I haven't seen him in anything before, but seems like a nice dude.
We spoke a few weeks ago, and one detail that stuck with me is you had mentioned that you'd film a really intense take with JK, and then people would ask you, like, God, it must have been so intense, and you'd be like, not really. We'd be joking around immediately after.
No, I say this, the take in the movie where he slaps me, and I think I've said this to you too, I swear to God, you can see me start to smile. It was kind of absurd because we kept trying to do these fake slaps, and it just wasn't looking real. I was like, dude, just slap me, whatever. And I can see a smile, the internet or whatever, you guys can slow it down and look in there. But no, honestly, Damien would yell, cut, and we would just start talking baseball or making a joke. You can't stay, at least for me in my process, and obviously JK is similar, if we were to live in that dynamic the whole time, it would have been a fucking nightmare. It would have been horrible.
JK, did you know you could scream like that before you made that movie?
Not at an actual human being. I mean, I can do that at an inanimate object that's not cooperating with me, or at a another driver that can't hear me, maybe. No, I mean, I was channeling Damien's frustration. The music was not perfect, and I needed the music to be fucking perfect. And, that's what came out. Yeah. And as I recall, it was really scheduled so that, like, the screaming days were, had a day or two off in between screaming days so that I could, because there's no way you can.
Oh, you had a day off?
Yeah. No, just a day off of screaming. I did have a day off I think a day and a half off. He did not. You might notice he's in every scene in the movie. But no, I had days where I didn't have to scream so that I could, because there's no way you can do what we needed to do and use, proper vocal technique. You just got to, make hamburger out of your vocal cords and go home.
Father fucking time is my wife says that to me sometimes.
Very memorable line.
So good. There's so many.
Yeah, no, there really are. There really are. So, rumor has it you made this movie in 19 days, I'm hearing, not 20. But Damien, in that shoot, the amount that you accomplish here, what do you remember just about kind of blocking it out and figuring out how you could do it in that very, very condensed time frame? Like, what did you learn about making a movie in that kind of way?
It was just preparation. You know, it was it's like the most minutely prepared thing I've ever done, probably. And J.K. mentioned, you know, because we shot this short film before. I mean, we had the script. We were trying to get the script made. Initially, you know, in my mind, we weren't going to do a short or anything. The short was this sort of kind of adapting to reality idea that the producers had, because we weren't getting any bites on the feature script. And so the idea was, let's just take a scene from it and do it as a proof of concept, and we'll sort of show people what it's like. But that also wound up being yet another sort of form of preparing for the feature. And you know, but yeah, we had to just kind of really get resourceful and clever. I drew every, you know, I'm not a great drawer, but just kind of stick figure drawings of every shot in the movie, and I'd sort of like cut them on, like try to use Final Cut Pro or something to sort of cut them together with demos of the music and just see for the music scenes if they would work. So I just remember lots of drawings of like beads of sweat and, like, you know, I got really good
Blood
at drawing
on the cymbals
face of a man screaming, like.
How much bigger was his face on the cue cards than mine?
His
got
face would, well, it's the screamathon thing. You get good at I remember there's this great thing that the Tintin comics do, where when a character is really freaking out, there's little dots of sweat coming out like sunshine rays. So I just got really good at that, you know. The big open mouth with the tongue. It's just all very. So these are the anyway. I became very adept at this kind of drawing, because there's a lot of shots in the movie. I knew I wanted a lot of angles, a lot of coverage. So it's sort of, I kind of tried to map it all out so that we would get everything we needed to get, but not waste time getting anything more. And sometimes I remember we'd even kind of shoot stuff that way, where you know, certain scenes where it's just like, you know, when you have these long pieces of music, you kind of need to know, okay, on this close-up of the, you know, of the crash symbol, this is just going to be used for bar 14, or, you know, we're not going to do the whole chart through it. This move across the toms is just for this one fill, and, you know, so
Wait, you did that in some of the scene work too. That's actually what I remember. Specifically, one of the first things we shot was when we're sitting at the dinner table with the family. You know, come play with us 4 words in the NFL. You'll never hear from the NFL. It's another zinger. But Damien, and yeah, it was like the first day of filming, and he maybe we did a master of you know, it's a couple page scene. But I just remember Damien, you know, setting up the camera, and he's like, okay, we're just doing, you know, from this line to this line. Maybe it's, you know, 6/8 of a page. And he's like, okay, got it, moving on. You know, 1 or 2 takes. And I just remember thinking, like, dude, this guy either has no idea what he's doing, or I didn't even think of an or. I was like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. What the hell? Let me do the whole freaking thing, man. But he didn't know. But yeah, he was very precise, knowing he's like, I'm only going to be in this shot for this and this.
Which, when you have 19 days to make a movie, you got to be that prepared. You know what? I don't even remember seeing the storyboards. I mean, did you didn't have them like up on an easel or anything when we were shooting, did you? Or did you?
No, probably not. No, they were probably just like. But I think, I mean, I had them, and Sharon had them.
I saw them. You showed them to me at Village when we were becoming best friends and stuff. And
This is,
yeah.
Miles and
I saw him. I remember.
It was on your day off, Jake.
Honestly, I think I still have some. He gifted them.
Nice. You got them
to me
autographed
at the-
and everything?
Yeah. Well,
Framed?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Miles gave some tips on them. Yeah, it was great.
Fantastic. I got to go.
Again, like in terms of maximizing the time, like the short, I stole some, you know, shots that we just didn't have time to do on the feature. I stole from the short. You know, the short was shot in a completely different. It was like a white-walled room with sunlight bathing in. So you can tell if you look closely, there's certain close-up shots of like objects and things. Obviously not the actors, but objects where. In the scene in the feature where they're doing their first big rehearsal scene, where, you know, the color correcting, it doesn't quite match. You know, we did the best we could to sort of warm it up and make it match that much warmer, sort of darker environment of the room. But if you look closely, you can sort of tell. So I can kind of see what things we stole from the short. There's even audio we stole from the short, which I always J.K. will
This
never,
is the best. This is such a good
will never forgive me
story.
for when one of my favorite lines in the
least
film,
favorite
because,
story.
because I didn't write it, is when J.K. yells, "I will fuck you like a pig." That's it. I just wanted to make sure I got this right, because the line as written.
Yes, you got it.
Thank you. The line as written was much less interesting, I think. It was just, "I will gut you like a pig," or "I will gut you like a fucking pig." To me, it's like a much more sensible insult. And J.K. flubbed it on the day of the short and yelled, "I will fuck you like a pig." And I thought that was so brilliant, so I put it in the script. And then we're shooting the feature with Miles, and J.K. gets that part of the line. He's like, "No, I'm not doing that. It's I will gut you like a pig." No, J.K., I love what you did. That's how we put it in the short, and it's right there in the script. See the new draft of the script, the new sides? It's got to be, "I will fuck you like a pig." It's so much more just chilling. And J.K.'s like, "No," and just put his foot down. It was, I think, the only time in the entire
Yeah, I
shoot
know.
where
Yeah.
normally J.K. was very collaborative, and we didn't have disagreements, but this one thing stuck in his craw, so he just refused. But I had the audio from the short, so that's what I put in.
Out of all
It's
the
just-
vile stuff you're spewing at me, it's pig fucking.
Right.
That's like,
Well-
that's a line I don't feel
That's where he
comfortable
drew the line.
crossing.
Even among
yeah.
my farm
Everything
boy
else was
cousins
fine.
who lost their virginity to farm animals, none of them chose a pig. I'm just saying, that's what sheep are for. It just didn't scan to me. So he stuck it in the movie. And
Did you find out when you watched it for the first time?
I didn't find out until the first screening. And I was like,
I showed you the
That's-
film before we screened it.
no, not the final cut.
Oh, really?
No. I don't think so. I would remember that. Yeah, picture lock, but not sound. Yeah.
The last piece of the puzzle. What's amazing about that that level of prep is that you've both talked about how as actors you would almost sometimes not even feel the camera, and that you had this space to kind of to play and to create this really rich, intense dynamic. So what do you remember about that, knowing that you were against the clock, but that you also felt like you had that space together?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the one really against the clock was Damien. You know, I mean, for us, we had that sort of nice, energizing vibe on set and having both worked on giant movies since then, where you sit in your trailer for 3.5 hours waiting for him to get the lighting right. You know, it was just, especially from my perspective as a guy who had an entire day and a half off. It was a great pace, you know, because you weren't letting down your energy for, you know, a long time in between and having to get it back up again. And you know what? The reason I didn't say "fuck you like a pig"
Oh my God, get over
on
it,
purpose.
man. 10 years ago, Jesus. Fucking
No,
A.
I couldn't. We had such a great intensity going that I was like, I can't make that come out of my mouth and believe it, and so he fucked me like a pig.
Well done.
But yeah, and to that, not the
Let it go.
So I'm done.
Not to that point, but with the close-ups, yeah. I mean, I didn't have a ton of experience under my belt when by the time we made this thing, but yeah, I mean, close-ups take a while to light when you're afforded the time and the budget, and you're just very aware. And a lot of the time, it's tough. The other actors got to find somewhere tight to lens, this and that. But I really never. I was shocked at how many close-ups were in the film when I saw it for the first time, because Damien was doing a lot of long lens stuff, and it always felt like a freedom, with us, in the scene work. But yeah, I never knew I was in a close-up, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many films you've done when the camera's here, like literally fucking here, and you're looking at that's not quite that part of the matte box, and then the other actor is over here somewhere. And you're trying to play the scene with it's just hard. Yeah. It's hard to make it feel real and that verisimilitude that you have when the camera's not in your face. And we talked many times about how much we appreciated that.
Thinking about the last scene too, which I believe you just kind of let him go for a while, right? In those takes.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely an instance where we were not.
It was actor abuse, man.
Yeah.
You can't get away with that shit now. You're lucky this was 10 years ago, pal.
Right?
We have rights, asshole.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. It was very exploitative. I'm sorry. We can hash it all out here.
I think we are.
Well, Miles said at one time in the pay, he said it was, we were talking about that scene where we've done the 3-man drum off, and I've just beat the shit out of everybody for hours and hours and hours. We're doing the exit scene out of the back alley of that building where, Miles drags his ass out of there. And somebody was asking him about that, and he said, you know what, it's a lot easier to just be tired than to act tired.
Stand by that 10 years later.
Well, to end on a more reflective note, maybe, Damien, as you have gone on to make films of much larger scale, what are some of the core lessons that you took away from Whiplash that you apply to those movies? What about that very, against the clock indie style of filmmaking has served you very well, even as you've made different kinds of films now?
Well, I mean, I think it's, it was kind of a unique experience because, it was like, when I was, because it was such a short shoot, because, in some ways, I guess I want to say it was like the hardest shoot I'd ever done and the most blissful because, there was, most shoots I think do wind up, or shoots on bigger films, for instance, will wind up being, there's these ebbs and flows and sort of, it's much more of a marathon and you kind of pace yourself. And this was just kind of sprinting from beginning to end. And as much as we were craving extra time or more, more of a moment to calibrate what we were doing while we were doing it, looking back, I think it needed that kind of headlong, sort of rush of a feel. So I don't know. I've never there was a certain kind of clarity of purpose and just intensity of feeling on that set that I guess I'll always miss to a certain extent, or that always just feels special to me.
Well, JK and I are available
Whiplash 2.
like all the time.
Neiman's Revenge.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Neiman's been hitting the gym a little bit, dude. Neiman did a movie called Top Gun, and now he's fucking strong. I don't need that, but thank you.
So cheap.
I was going to say something very sincere and earnest, and now
tough with these guys.
This is what the shoot was like. He was trying to be a grown-up, and we were like,
they were just
goofball
joking
8th
around.
graders.
It was tough. It was tough. No, but back to sincerity. All joking aside, the caveat I'll say to doing a movie at that kind of pace is that it only works if you have the right team. And these two guys,
I'm sorry about what I said earlier.
I love you too,
goddamn
man.
heartfelt. I love you too.
What do you guys think?
I thought it was good.
What was the question?
Reflecting back.
Oh, reflecting. Oh, man.
What have you learned that you applied to Top Gun?
Thank you. That was
Now
the
I'm not going to be
real
able to talk over the applause, Damien. God, you can't say that word. No, I mean, it's just been such a, a mantelpiece of my, still very, early career. But I just feel lucky, man. There's actors that have, been around a long time. You're just chasing, great writing and great directing and, and working with great actors. And for this all to come together at such a young age and, people, freaking re-releasing this thing, man, that's wild. That's not something to take for granted. And, the impact it's had on people. I really wish Not My Tempo Neiman was not so strongly associated with me because people yell that shit out to me all the Not My Tempo, Miles. Like, fucking dude, I'm just like pumping my gas, asshole. I don't know. But But yeah, it was wonderful, especially independent film, and when it kind of it's hard to break out, man. So yeah, I just have the best memories, and love these guys, and Damien, I'm available whenever.
We got to have Miles play the alpha and me play the whipping dog in whatever we do.
You would like that. There's a part of you that wants that, doesn't it, you little perv?
Let's not get weird again. We already did the farm animals. Come on.
I think maybe talk about that stuff off stage, guys.
This is like one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, actually, at this point.
What a shame we have to end it then. Well, thank you guys so much. We would appreciate
Thank
it
you.
if you guys
Thank you
would all
guys for
stay
coming so much
seated
for
while we
coming.
make
Thank
a quick exit. And thank you again for coming out.
Thank you.